right now on 12 News at 10.
I'm Tiani Jadaling in Litchfield Park. 2 unidentified bodies were found in the backyard in this neighborhood. Who police believe the main suspect is and what they're telling us tonight.
I'm Chase Golightly in Scottsdale, where police tell us they're getting more swatting calls. Fake calls that put people in real danger. Tonight, the department is telling us how they're training staff to deal with these situations.
The extreme heat continues through Sunday. We're in weather impact alert mode, but next week storm chances are going up.
And an Arizona boy found the baseball card of a lifetime. Now he's meeting the player who's on it.
I was like, is this really gonna happen?
12 News at 10 starts now.
Good evening. Tonight, a worldwide manhunt for a Valley man who is now a suspect in a homicide. Today, 2 bodies were found buried in the backyard of a Valley home that's at the center of a search for a missing family. Thanks for joining us. For 12 News at 10, I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Kadiba Devine. Police say that they believe that the man they need to find has left the country. 12 News journalist Tiani Jadaling is joining us live tonight in Litchfield Park with the very latest on this investigation. Tiani?
Crew Bay marked the bodies found in the backyard were unearthed about 12 hours ago. Police have not identified those bodies just yet, but they are looking for an adult male who they say lived in this neighborhood with his parents. This case has quickly gone from a missing persons investigation to decomposing bodies and a homicide case. Sky 12 was over the scene where investigators, large tents, and what appears to be an excavator could be seen in the backyard.
We have located unidentified human remains in the backyard of this residence.
Earlier this week, police came to the home for a welfare check. They were looking for a husband, wife, and an adult son.
What I can say that we identified is a large amount of blood, and we also identified what we believed as evidence in an attempt to conceal that blood. And that's what made us believe that foul play is involved.
Now authorities are looking for a man who has left the country.
The adult son, who was originally part of the report for the welfare check, is identified as Matthew Flores. He is 27 years old, and Matthew Flores is now considered a suspect in this missing persons investigation.
The bodies recovered in the backyard have not yet been identified.
I can't tell you how many hours or days, but what I can say is that the bodies are in a state of decomposition.
Now, police say they will not be releasing the names of Matthew Flores' parents. That comes at the request of the family. Still a lot of unanswered questions surrounding this investigation, even this evening. Live in Litchfield Park, I'm Tiani Jadaling, 12 News.
All right, Tiani, thank you. Strong storms last night caused some major street flooding in southern Arizona. Take a look at this video. This is from Bisbee. Streets were flooded there, causing lots of damage to homes and businesses. People living in town spent the day cleaning up as they start to assess all of that damage. Other areas of southern Arizona also saw some severe flooding. One woman was even swept away by floodwaters in Cochise County. Rescue crews suspended the search for her this afternoon.
And while southern Arizona was getting hit with rain, the valley got a lot of dust. Take a look at these ADOT cameras showing the scope of the dust storm that hit around 1 o'clock this morning. The ASU dust team says this storm was a Category 5, which is the strongest on the new dust scale. It was the second Category 5 dust storm we've had this week. Let's get to our weather impact forecast with meteorologist Lindsay Riley. And Lindsay, it sounds like the chances for rain are sort of fading away.
They are for tonight, but certain models are showing chances for tomorrow. And the good news is the dust potential for tonight is going down. But that Category 5 dust storm that we had last night, that was the second one this week. But records have been kept since 2011. And before this week, we've only had 4 Category 5 dust storms. And this week alone now, we've had 2. We don't have any dust potential for tonight. And the reason for it, we haven't had much rain in the valley. We've had an extended period of dry and hot weather as well. And we didn't see any rain after that dust rolled in last night to wash some of that dust out of the air very quickly. So it just lingered and we woke up to it even this morning. You can see what's left of the showers, so no dust, no showers through the overnight. Couple lightning strikes out across Yavapai County, but these cells are dying down as we speak. So as we go through through the overnight. Nice quiet weather expected. We wake up dry tomorrow, more sunshine. 1 to 2 p.m. storms are going to begin to fire up in the high country, and they're going to move toward the valley. And this particular model does bring some moisture into the valley around 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Here's 8:30. You can see some storms over Phoenix, and even 11 o'clock tomorrow night. So we could have a more active evening on Friday, but generally speaking, storm chances will go up even more next week. Mark?
Linz, thanks. New tonight, it's a growing problem that police departments across the country are facing, including here in the Valley, and it's putting officers and the community at risk.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about swatting calls where people call 911 to report a serious crime taking place, like a shooting or a bomb threat that never actually happens.
Tonight, 12 News journalist Chase Golightly spoke with Scottsdale Police about how they're training to identify these calls and how often they're seeing them. Chase?
Yeah, Mark, Scottsdale Police tells me within the past 2 weeks, they've already received 3 swatting calls. Of course, the department takes these situations incredibly seriously, doing specialized training to identify them. The department even sharing with us some examples of swatting calls they received over the years, and they are very convincing.
Yes, there's someone shooting,
These are actual 911 calls Scottsdale Police have received.
I have a bomb and I have 2 hostages in my house right now.
People claiming there's an active shooter inside a restaurant or threatening to kill people inside their home.
There's a whole bunch of shooting and screaming going on.
While they sound terrified and serious, Scottsdale Police says they're all fake. What they claim to be happening isn't.
But I don't know exactly where that's happening because we're there and it's not going on.
It's called swatting, a fake call that can put people's lives in real danger.
Swatting is becoming more and more prevalent.
Deputy Director Karen Sutherland with Scottsdale Police's Communication Services says these hoax calls are either meant to retaliate against someone or just draw out a huge police presence.
Swatting has been around forever, all the way back to kids in high school calling in bomb threats so they didn't have to take their exams. But in the last probably 3 to 4 years, we've really noticed an uptick.
How often do you guys see SWAT calls here?
I would say at least once a month, probably more like 2 times a month.
Sutherland says from what Scottsdale Dispatch Center has seen, a select group falls victim to this. Like, who's getting swatted?
We do see a lot of gamers. Gamers tend to be a victim here on the West Coast.
Like Grandma Crackers, who lives in Queen Creek. She's a popular Minecraft streamer on YouTube, who back in May was swatted, leading to police swarming her home with guns at the ready. The caller reportedly telling police that her grandson shot and killed her and was threatening to kill himself.
Gamers are hit a lot. Schools, religious institutions, those seem to be hit more often than others.
There's also the situation in Tucson where a man is suing the Pima County Sheriff's Department, claiming they shot him while responding to his home for a swatting call.
It's life-threatening, yeah, and that is why we have to train this much on it.
Sutherland says dispatchers and officers are trained on how to identify these calls, listening in to see if anything seems off.
For example, if a caller maybe doesn't live in Scottsdale, they may have a harder time pronouncing the street names, even the city name, and things like that are sort of a clue.
Using this swatting call as an example, the suspect claiming a shooting was happening at the local Patron bar in Scottsdale, but mispronounces the name.
Road, it's on the local Patreon.
You're never 100% sure. At least you're starting to ask the questions, right? And you're starting to know what information will be important for an officer to know so that when they are on their way, that they make the best decisions that they can make.
As far as catching the person making these calls, Sutherland says it's difficult, that they use technology to mask their phone number, identity, and location, adding that sometimes the caller isn't even in Arizona or the United States. Sutherland says the department will continue its focus to train its dispatchers and officers to handle these situations.
We all know what our role is, and we know how to recognize these calls when they're coming in. And we will investigate them when it's done.
Now, while these SWAT callers are very hard to find, there was a case back in 2022 where a teenager living in the UK threatened to shoot up multiple schools here in Scottsdale. He was arrested, facing charges for those cases. We're live in Scottsdale. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Chase, thanks. Put so many people at risk. The man charged with setting a devastating wildfire near Spokane, Washington, is now facing additional arson charges. Aaron Farinacci has a lengthy criminal past, including here in Arizona, where he was convicted of killing his adoptive father. Today, he was charged with 4 new counts of arson after admitting to setting other fires dating back to last summer. Farinacci was scheduled to be arraigned today, but it was delayed after the defense requested a mental competency evaluation.
Developing tonight, President Trump has signed 2 new executive orders targeting birthright citizenship, even after the Supreme Court struck down his previous attempts. The new orders are much more targeted than the last one. One makes children born to people classified as alien enemies ineligible for birthright citizenship. The other executive order bans birth tourism. However, U.S. law already bans people from obtaining a visa for the primary purpose of giving birth.
All right, take a look at this new video shared with us by Arizona DPS Rangers. It shows the dramatic rescue of a base jumper who hit a rock and was stranded on the cliff in the Superstitions. The DPS video shows the successful hoist operation. After safely extracting the patient, the crew transported the jumper to the trailhead. No additional details regarding the jumper's condition have been released.
Still ahead, a young baseball fan from here in the Valley sells a rare card for tens of thousands of dollars. Now he's meeting the player on that very card.
And in sports, the celebration is underway for a Cardinals legend. Larry Fitzgerald, now just days away from being enshrined into football immortality. And at 10:12, let's give you a live look over downtown Phoenix. Keep it right here. 12 News at 10 is coming right back.